Phase 2 of the 2020 NHL Draft Lottery is now set. We now know who all the 8 teams are going to be participating for first overall and a shot at Alexis Lafreniere. We'll discuss the odds and who those teams are coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, of course, as you can see, I'm not in my normal setup here. We just completed a really fun and successful live stream watching the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets do battle here in Game 5 of their play-in series for the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs. The Columbus Blue Jackets were successful in defeating the Maple Leafs by a score of 3-0. So the Jackets move on to face Tampa, and we know what happened in last year's playoffs when those two teams met. And the Maple Leafs, unfortunately, failed to qualify for the first round and are sent packing. So both of the Hub City host teams, Toronto and Edmonton, are both now officially out of the playoffs. From a perspective of looking at some of the top players of the game, it's kind of sad in a way to see a lot of these top guys are not going to be in the playoffs. But it goes to show that you can have great players, but it doesn't mean you're a great team and you're the best team. This is a team sport at the end of the day. But Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Crosby, Malkin, I can go on here, are all not going to be participating in the next round, which is somewhat surprising. I never would have predicted that when the NHL got everything announced for their return to play in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, as I mentioned, we have the 8 teams now finalized for this draft lottery, where they all have an equal weighted chance at 12.5% odds to land first overall in the 2020 NHL Draft and have the distinct privilege of drafting Alexis Lafreniere, this year's top prospect, and a franchise winger who you can build around, and really, like any team would be lucky to have him. But can you imagine if he goes to one of these already highly offensive, highly powered teams like the Oilers or the Penguins or the Maple Leafs, who are all 3 teams in this draft lottery? Can you imagine what it would be like to see Lafreniere go to Pittsburgh and play with Sidney Crosby? That's a crazy concept, but of course, playing in the Quebec Region Junior Hockey League, he obviously drew a lot of comparisons, at least statistically speaking, not necessarily on the style of play. They're obviously, Lafreniere's a winger, Crosby's a center. They're not the same exact kind of player, but just from the numbers he's put up, he's drawn some comparisons that way. He obviously would be a great role model for him. Obviously, to go to Edmonton, can you imagine him playing on McDavid's wing? As we saw the Oilers in the Hawks series, the Oilers are certainly lacking some depth on the wings, and really that would be a game changer for the Oilers. I don't think that's the number 1 selection that they could really screw up here. Of course, when the Penguins and the Oilers and now the Maple Leafs are in the fold, that's absolutely insane. Are the Maple Leafs going to make any bold moves this summer now after really not really meeting expectations again? Freddie Anderson did not come up big for the Leafs. He really let in a couple of goals he should have had, and the Leafs just could not get the job done. So those 3 teams are in the draft lottery. Now, besides them, we have 5 others that were not quite so surprising. And to be honest, I think many fans would probably be more content with for winning the first overall selection. Those 5 teams are the Nashville Predators, the Winnipeg Jets, the Florida Panthers, the New York Rangers, and the Minnesota Wild. Now, of course, they're all pretty good teams. They had a good run, but they're obviously eliminated from the playoffs. But many of those teams, especially teams like Minnesota, for example, are really lacking that top 6 offensive firepower. So personally, it would be nice to see them get that opportunity to really draft first overall. It could be a game changer and help them turn things around for sure. So we now have the 8 teams. As I mentioned, they all have an equal shot. We're going to be live streaming that event on the channel tomorrow starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. I hope you'll join us. Obviously, the live streaming is somewhat of a new feature here to Top Shelf Hockey, but it's a great way to engage with our great subscribers and channel members in the community here. We can kind of have a watch party, watch the game, have a fun chat, and really have a great time. Our streams are becoming more and more successful here every time, so I hope you'll join us tomorrow where we can watch the live reaction and get the news together and react accordingly. It could be, some major surprises. We've had a lot of surprises so far since the NHL's come back. Phase 1 of the draft lottery was somewhat surprising. We've seen some big-time eliminations in the qualifying round be surprising. Why should Phase 2 of the draft lottery really be any different? Can you just imagine the endless possibilities? I know there was a lot of talk about Montreal landing Lafreniere because they were the lowest ranked team in the qualifying round. I said myself, it'd be a great story if he went to the Habs, obviously being a French Canadian himself. But clearly Montreal had other plans here and beat out the Penguins. So that's not going to happen. There was also reports that he didn't want to play for Montreal. So obviously, there's also a couple of teams like Ottawa and New Jersey who have 3 first-round selections. We could see some activity in the team who lands his first overall pick. Is there any chance they would trade the selection? There has been some trade chatter in the rumor mill, although I do think it's pretty unlikely that something like that could happen. But I guess you just never know. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow for a live stream to react to who wins. Let me know in the comments which team out of the 8 do you think really deserves and needs Lafreniere more than any other team. I mean, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of enraged fans if a team like Toronto, Pittsburgh, or Edmonton win this first overall pick. Of course, Toronto and Edmonton have had first overall picks more recently. Pittsburgh's been an extremely successful team over the past decade. Obviously, those other 5 teams, I think, certainly need his services much more than they do. So if you join me on the stream watching Toronto-Columbus, thanks for joining me. It's very exciting. It's very fun. Very successful. I hope you join me tomorrow for the Draft Lottery Phase 2 so we can watch this, and let me know, again, your comments down below for who do you think deserves to win this the most, and we will catch you next time.